Right, today we are going to discuss the artificial intelligence um, from a business perspective, and we will look at some of the use cases, in several industries. We are going to cover the application of AI in banking and finance. We will see that how AI is playing its part in healthcare. Uh, and then in telecommunication. So in banking and finance, we know that it's the front runners in the usage of data sciences and machine learning. So they use machine learning for cutting down their risks and increase the profit. From managing those risks, for example, preventing money laundering and other forms of financial frauds or cyber attacks. So machine learning and AI are actually transforming the banking industry like never before. And given the number of use cases around banking and finance, so let us put a structure and and see that how and discuss how these use cases, how banking and finance are taking benefit from AI and ML. So we start by looking at how AI and machine learning may help the banks in acquiring new customers. Then we see how it may help in improving the customer management. Then we will see that how risks are managed in banking and finance by the use of AI and machine learning. This includes managing credit risks, fraud, and money laundering. And finally, we will see how machine learning can be used in doing asset management or portfolio management. So these are the big areas. We are not going to go quite deep into these areas, but we are only going to seek an overview to see how AI and ML can be leveraged in each of these areas. So let's look at the customer acquisition. So AI and ML are changing the landscape of digital marketing. Banks are at the forefront of using these techniques for acquiring new customers. They do this by segmenting and identifying the customer for their marketing ventures like email campaigns and physical mails. So these segmentations are actually based on several variables like income of the potential customers, their address and source of the leads, etc., etc. The more sharply a bank can identify their target customer, the better their campaign can be. So each bank typically runs various models to predict the probability of a customer responding to their campaign. Now, the best customers are identified by these models and then targeted through various channels. And then, in addition, banks also use geolocation or geo-targeting based on data sciences to identify the right locations for opening their branches and the ATMs. So this gives them presence in front of the right customer and help the bank grow further. Several factors like number of people in that locality, lifestyle of people living there, and other banks already present in that area are considered while taking that decision. And then we have something called automated underwriting. So this is the next application of AI and ML. As a process, a bank or a financial institution need to verify several documents to underwrite insurance or a loan application. So with the help of ML, you do not need only make the process more efficient, consistent, and much faster, but you also reduce the errors. So that's I mean that's how AI and ML help the banks in doing the customer acquisition, new customer acquisition. Then we have the customer management. The next set of application in banking, uh, is customer application. So this includes active customer life cycle management and ensuring prompt services to those customers. So what is active customer life cycle management? Once a bank has acquired a customer, they get tons of data about him or her. So this includes their purchase, their lifestyle habits, and their spending habits, etc. So all this data provide bank a much better insight into customers' preferences, needs, and wants. So bank then analyze this information and manage these customers actively. So these analysis and the results of those analysis may reflect in offering a loan, enhance their credit limit, and offer banking products to those customers. Banks use uh, several supervised learning algorithms like decision trees and logistic regression and neural networks to manage the life cycle of their customer. So we have discussed the recommendation engines before, which can be used to show various products to the customers when they log in on the bank website. So then there are there are chatbots which are being adopted and experimented in various banks. These chatbots, they not only ensure round the clock availability, but they also integrate quite well with other banking systems to take immediate actions. So at the current level of intelligence, I mean, chatbots can do very few predefined tasks. For example, providing account details or taking some specific service request from the customers. And then finally, virtual assistant based banking. So the next common application this is the next common application. So these virtual agents could be agents developed specifically for those banks, or could use existing platforms like Alex and Siri, um, or Google Duplex. I think Alexa and Siri and Google Duplex. So these virtual assistants can replace the relationship managers for majority of the predictive tasks and provide round the clock availability to the customers. And then the risk management. So this brings us to the third and the most important area of application of AI and ML, and which is called risk management. So managing risks like credit risk and money laundering and fraud is very critical to running the bank successfully. Um, anti I mean Anti-money laundering is one of the application which is most critical application for AI and ML in a bank. So every bank is expected to run anti-money laundering checks to ensure that no income um, generation happens through any illegal means. So what this means is that money laundering, because money laundering is one of the largest businesses in the world, it is estimated that around $2 trillion are laundered every year, which is almost 5% of the global GDP. So these funds are then used to fund several illegal businesses. If the bank slips on anti-money laundering checks, they face quite heavy fines from their regulators. To ensure that the laundry does not come under radar, the launderers create a web of complex actions and transactions. So this spans across continents, in multiple banks, in multiple bank accounts and multiple geographies. So this is exactly where machine learning can help to solve the problem. Traditionally, anti-money laundering was done through the series of rule-based checks and also via human intervention. So AI can handle this in much faster manner, and therefore are relying more on machine learning to get a grip on money laundering. Then we have credit risk management. So this is also one of the most important application of AI and ML. At the time of application of any credit product, the bank gets the information about the applicant from various sources, including credit bureaus. So credit bureau itself has a massive amount of information about the customer. So the bank merges this information with several internal information sources like the application data, the past experience, and macroeconomic variables to make a decision on whether to provide the credit to the customer or not, and if yes, then how much credit should be provided. So once a customer is provided a product, the active life cycle management then starts, um, and that's how they carry on with that customer. So given the complexity and amount of data involved, machine learning can come quite handy to manage the risks of that customer. And then we have something called social media based risk prediction platform. So there are companies like Friendly Score. So it is a software as a service based credit scoring company that uses big data to assess the credit risk. Its risk model incorporates data from social media, from mobile devices, bank transactions, and third-party databases, and other existing means of credit worthiness. So using machine learning and AI, Friendly Score delivers high accuracy in assessing the credit risks related um, to the traditional credit risks to traditional credit scoring methods. So clients may expect high approval rates, lower default rates, better fraud detections, and more accurate risk pricing. And then finally, we have fraud detection within risk management, which is also one of the most important applications of AI and ML. If money laundering is a regulatory challenge, then fraudulent transactions is one of the biggest business threats to the banking. The top frauds that a bank may have to deal with, that includes credit cards and loan applications and insurances, and false insurance claims and false um, insurance applications. So now all these frauds directly impact the banks and may lead to huge losses. So only online credit card frauds are estimated to be around 32 billion US dollars in 2017, which is bigger than the profits of a company like Coca-Cola. So once the online so how machine learning can help bank fighting these online scammers? Well, every online transactions comes with a lot of data. For instance, the site on which the transaction took place, and then the amount of transaction, the IP, the location from which the transaction took place, the time since the last purchase, the location of the last purchase, etc. So bank analyze this data in real time using machine learning and flag up suspicious transaction to avoid the fraud. So if the activities seem higher than usual, some banks go ahead and block the cards either temporarily or permanently. So going forward, as we see more and more compute power becoming available, we believe that both banks as well as the scammers will become better at detecting and performing uh, the fraud detection. Now, to fight these scammers and frauds, banks use a mix of techniques, including real-time profiling, supervised and unsupervised machine learning techniques. And now let's talk about the asset management. So within the banking, intelligent algorithm trading uh, or a or a high frequency trading. This is something. This is one of the applications in the AI and ML within the banking industry. So the idea is that there's a lot of information flowing at a very fast pace in stock market. So AI and ML can help the hedge funds use this to place their bets on stocks in a better manner. So this information includes past stock market data, um company filings, latest news on the subject in social media reviews, and this information can be used to create trading strategies and gaining advantage within the market. So some of the hedge funds using intelligent trading uh, algorithm include um, 2 Sigma and PDT Partners and D Shaw, etc. So that was the uh, basically the overview of various applications of AI and ML within the banking. So now let's look what AI is doing within the health industry. So within the health industry, we have um, the healthcare is invariably one of the most exciting industry for the application of AI and ML. The industry will probably have the highest impact due to the application of AI and ML in the coming years. So uh, AI and ML is helping the health industry in the medical imaging, in the patient medication, in drug discovery, um, in virtual nursing, within health monitoring, and within the robotic surgery. So now let's look at all these use cases one by one. So within medical imaging, due to the advances in the deep learning, machines are now far more precise and accurate in detecting changes and differences in those changes. So in some cases, they are even better than human beings. So this means that for problem or areas where we have sufficient image data, we can train these machines to perform with far higher accuracy and in a very short time frame. So for example, a recent algorithm divided by an MIT-led research can compare 3D scans of brain up to 100 times faster than humans, up to 1,000 times faster than humans. So this is especially helpful uh, in turnover in the tumor operations, where the doctors need to compare the scans before and after the surgery to check the presence of a tumor. If the tumor is still present, the doctors need to take the patient to the operation theater. In today's world, it takes humans a couple of hours to compare the 3D scans before, because of the complexity involved, whereas the machines can do that in a matter of minutes. So the same technique can also be used for lungs or for any other organ, where fast analysis could make life easier for the doctors as well as for the patients. So another field which is getting disrupted because of AI advancements is radiology. Um, sorry, is radiology. I was reading a comment from um, a doctor and a professor at Harvard Medical School, where he said that in 20 years, radiologists won't exist in anywhere near the current form. They might look like they might more look like um, cyberbugs supervising algorithms, reading thousands of studies per minute. So we have Google DeepMind health planning radiopathy using some of these techniques. And then let's come to the personalized medication for the patients, which is the next exciting application of AI and ML in healthcare. So today we have a very limited number of drugs which are personalized for any patient facing a problem or a disease. The medication is typically standard, which would work in majority of the cases but not in all the cases. So also the effectiveness of the medicine could vary across people it is administered to. So this is because each human is different. They have different genetic profile, different ethnicity, socioeconomic classes, and various other variables, and hence the effect of medicine on each person would be different. So with the help of machine learning techniques, we can provide customized treatment to patient, which would enable us a much to deliver a much better treatment to the patients. The idea is to move forward by providing the right patient the right drug with the right dose at the right time. And then we have uh, drug discovery, perhaps the most difficult application of AI and ML in healthcare. Currently, drug discovery process is very long and very expensive. The average price of bringing a new drug into the market is around $2.6 billion, and only 12% of the drugs which enter clinical trial phase actually make it to the market. So how this machine learning can help in this process? To start with, the NLP can be used to to create the knowledge graph of complex medical literature. Today, even the best doctors are unable to follow the research in the areas which may not seem relevant to them. So therefore, a lot of knowledge does not actually reach the right people, and people miss the correlation which should be otherwise noticed. On the other hand, if a machine could correlate the information from different fields and sources and pass it to the right people, then they can utilize the research in a much better manner. So machine learning can also predict how a drug may perform in testing, which drug may work better in combination for treatment, and then find new uses of previously tested compounds, and create personalized medicines based on the genetic markers. And then we have virtual nurses. So given the shortage of healthcare professionals, it is expected that the virtual nurses can save up to $20 billion by the year 2026. So these virtual nurses are nothing but bots trained on medical data and procedures. They can do basic things like booking appointments, suggesting basic procedures based on symptoms, and reminders for the medicines. And then the healthcare monitoring. The next, which is the next application of AI and ML in the healthcare industry. So this is primarily done through wearable health trackers like watches and gadgets, etc. So these trackers not only track your activities but your sleep, your heart rate, etc. as well. According to a recent announcement from Apple, the Apple Watches can now alert the user about irregular heartbeats. It can also compete. It can also complete an ECG on its own. So this is a very active field of development, and we expect to see interesting results coming out in the next 5 to 10 years. And then we have robot-assisted surgeries. So robots are far more precise compared to humans when it comes to completing the surgery procedures. The surgeries are minimally invasive, and the patient won't acquire suffering and healing from large incisions. So robotic surgeries are expected to be a 40 billion US dollars industry by year 2026. So this is how AI and ML is helping the healthcare industries. So now let's talk about the application of AI in the telecommunication industry. Now, given the importance of communication in our life today, telecom industry has seen unprecedented challenges. It is one of the industry which truly operates on big data scale. This is because communication and connectivity is the basic need of every individual today. In fact, quite a few of us actually carry multiple connections. It is also it also needs a huge amount of investment to create those networks. Now, governments typically exercise control in providing licenses so that they can monitor control in case there is a threat of violence and civil unrest. So as a result of these factors, there are usually a few companies serving a large customer base, and hence all the challenges are almost all the challenges are big data challenges. So let's see what kind of big data companies, what kind of data these big data companies store, um, and what do they know about us. So a telecom provider um, uh, with a few million customers would have the logs of all the calls made by that subscriber, the location from where the calls are made, which networks the calls are made to, and how much time is spent at a particular location, and what data these customers they have browsed. So they have access to massive data, and they have millions of customers, so they end up creating the big data challenges. um, Additionally, because these companies are cash rich, they don't mind spending on customer acquisition as well. So there is typically a very high competition in getting these customers, and when they get those customers, they aim to make the high average revenue per user. So now let's look at the applications of AI and ML in telecoms. So we have customer acquisition, um, we have customer management, and we have infrastructure management. So as far as this customer acquisition is concerned, this is the first set of application. Uh, we have already discussed that in the banking and finance domain. So we'll not go in much detail. As you can expect, these companies would spend a lot in digital marketing, personalizations of their websites, and pricing analytics. That is what kind of pricing for which customer. So, and then the customer management. Similarly, in the customer management area, they have various applications like cross-sell or upsell, chatbots, based services, analyzing the customer churn, and then services through virtual assistants. Infrastructure management. So they need to manage their own infrastructure. So things like networking, network planning, protecting themselves and their subscribers from denial of services attacks. So, so these are some of the areas of AI and ML in the telecommunication. But the most important among this is the customer churn. So customer churn is actually the percentage of customer that stop using your company's product or services during a certain time frame. That's what customer churn is. So this is so this is one of the most important area, which and why it is important, because the telecom companies spend a lot of money in getting those customer on board, and once they are on board, they are typically extremely profitable. Um, I mean, let's see. Let's take an example of the U.S. market. So the churn rate across the top four carriers like AT&T and T and Verizon and T-Mobile and Sprint, it's around 1.9% per month, and at the customer base of 100 million subscribers among the top four carriers. So at the base of 100 million, this essentially means that 2 million customers churn from one network to another network. So they hop from one network to another network. So if we look at the average statistic monthly, um, the monthly revenue per customer is around $62 with a gross margin of about 55%. So this essentially means that once a provider has acquired a customer, they make a profit of about $34 on that customer on month-to-month basis. So when that customer leaves a particular telecommunication service provider, the expected loss is usually to the turn to the tunes of thousands of dollars. So given the importance of retaining these customers, how do you use AI and ML in this scenario? So since it is truly a big data challenge, we cannot expect humans to handle it at this scale. So the companies, what they do is they store the customer data, that is all the useful information such as demographics and past history and billing data and product information. They run it through their uh, their machine learning engine, and then they end up creating segmentations, and then they start engaging with the customer on one-on-one basis and make personalized retention offers in order to reduce the churn. So that was about it really.